Welcome to Easy English Talk Podcast, where we make English easy for you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. If you're new here, we're so glad you've joined us. And if you've listened before, thank you for coming back. It really means a lot. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, subscribing helps this podcast reach more people like you, and it really keeps us going. Now, today we're diving into something so practical, using English in travel and airport situations. We've all been there. The long lines, the announcements, the nervous feeling when you're not sure what to say. That's exactly what we're here to walk through.
Wes, because airports can be overwhelming, right? And it's not just about flying. It's about confidence in those little but important moments, like check-in, security, or even just asking for directions. By listening today, you'll know the simple words and phrases that can make your whole journey smoother. So if you've ever felt anxious in an airport, this episode is for you.
And the best part is, it's not about perfection. You don't need to know everything, just a few practical tools that will make all the difference. Smiles warmly. Imagine feeling calm at immigration, or relaxed when you hear an announcement and actually understand it. That's what we're aiming for today.
So stay with us, because in just a few minutes, you'll feel like you're right there inside the airport, walking step by step through the journey with us by your side. Let's begin.
You know that moment when you first step into the airport? It's almost overwhelming. The sliding doors open, and suddenly you're in this huge, bright space. Lights everywhere, signs hanging from the ceiling, people rushing past with their bags. It feels like the whole world is moving at once, and you're just trying to find your place in it. And then there's that small voice inside going, okay, where do I even start? Do I go to the check-in counter? Do I look for my gate? It's like stepping into a new world where every detail matters, and you can't miss a single one.
Yes, exactly. And what makes that moment so unique is how many emotions are happening at once. There's excitement because you're about to travel, maybe to a new country or to see loved ones. But right alongside it, there's this wave of nervousness because you don't want to get lost or make a mistake. It's like stepping into a new world where every detail matters and you can't miss a single one.
Yeah, and it's funny how even the smallest interactions feel so important in that moment. Like the first time you talk to a staff member, maybe asking, "Excuse me, where is the check-in desk?" Smile softly. It's such a simple question, but it feels like the gateway to your entire journey. And there's a kind of comfort in that too, because even if the airport feels huge and chaotic, just hearing someone respond kindly can calm you down. It's almost like the airport is testing you at the entrance, asking, "Are you ready for this adventure?"
That's so true. And what stands out to me is how everyone's stories blend together in that space. You look around and see families hugging, business travelers typing on laptops, children pulling tiny backpacks almost bigger than themselves. It reminds you that you're not alone in feeling overwhelmed because every single person there is moving through the same maze in their own way. And somehow, in that mix of strangers, there's a kind of shared energy that makes you feel both small and part of something much bigger at the same time.
Exactly. And I think that's why those first steps into the airport stay with you, because it's not just about going from one place to another, it's about stepping into a space where you suddenly become a traveler, not just yourself anymore. The energy, the voices, the little rush of adrenaline when you look up at the flight board for the first time, it's all part of that transformation. And honestly, it's in those details, those small human moments, where the journey really begins.
And the beauty is, once you allow yourself to notice it, not just rush through, but actually pause for a moment, the chaos doesn't feel so heavy. It becomes a rhythm you can move with instead of something pushing against you. That's why this first step matters so much. Because if you can find calm in the middle of that busy terminal, then every step after, check-in, security, boarding, feels less like a challenge and more like part of the adventure. It's almost like the airport itself is inviting you to slow down and really experience the journey.
All right, so you've made it through the doors, and now comes the first big step. Check-in. You're standing in this long line, pulling your suitcase along the floor, watching the people ahead of you hand over their documents. And even though you know you have your passport and ticket ready, there's still that little nervous voice inside whispering, what if something goes wrong? It's funny, isn't it? You rehearse it in your head, hand over the passport, answer a question or two, put your bag on the belt. But the moment you're face to face with the staff, your heart beats just a little faster. And yet, when they smile at you and everything goes smoothly, you realize most of that worry was just in your head.
Exactly, Ryan. And the same thing happens at security. It's this moment where you suddenly feel so aware of yourself. Like, did I forget to take my bottle of water out? Did I leave something in my bag? And then there's that clumsy shuffle, taking off your shoes, emptying your pockets, trying to fit everything into those little trays. For a second, it almost feels like everyone's watching you, even though they're just focused on their own things. But once you see your bag rolling out the other side of the scanner, it's like a wave of relief. You realize, okay, I'm through this part. I can breathe again.
Yeah, and isn't it strange how the smallest details feel so huge in that moment? Like forgetting to remove your laptop or scrambling to find your boarding pass. I remember once I actually had to step aside because I left a little coin in my pocket, and the machine just wouldn't let me through. And even though it was such a small thing, my whole body tensed up like I'd done something terribly wrong. But that's the thing. These checks aren't meant to scare us. They're just part of the journey. And once you realize that, you stop seeing it as this stressful obstacle and start seeing it as another small step you just have to walk through.
Right. And I think the hardest part is actually the waiting. You're standing in line, inching forward, holding your documents, and it almost feels like time slows down. You replay everything in your mind. Do I have everything? Will they ask me something I don't understand? But the truth is, most of the time, the process is quicker and simpler than we expect. And that's where calmness becomes so powerful. Because when you take a breath, when you remind yourself that this is just a normal step, it doesn't feel as overwhelming. It just becomes part of the rhythm of travel.
And that rhythm is so important, isn't it? Because once you've been through check-in and security, you almost feel lighter. It's like the heaviest part of the journey is behind you. Sure, there's still more ahead, finding the gate, listening for announcements, but that big hurdle of handing over your documents and being checked is done. And it gives you a little boost of confidence, a reminder that you're capable of handling these steps, even if they feel nerve-wracking in the moment. You almost laugh at yourself for worrying so much.
Absolutely. And I think that's the lesson here. Airports are designed to make sure you're safe and ready to travel, not to catch you out. Once you realize that, the tension softens, and you start to notice things around you again. Maybe a family laughing nearby, or someone rushing to their flight, or just the calm voice of an announcement in the distance. And you think, I'm really doing this. I'm on my way. That's the shift, from worry to relief, from doubt to a quiet kind of confidence. And it makes the whole journey ahead feel possible.
You know, once you're past security, it almost feels like stepping into a new world. You're walking down these long corridors, signs glowing above you, arrows pointing left and right, and for a second you think, am I really going the right way? But then there's this little thrill, the kind of curiosity that makes you scan everything carefully, listening to the announcements, following the crowds, and then you spot something familiar, maybe a coffee shop you've seen back home, and it feels comforting, like a little anchor in the middle of all that newness. It's funny how those small details can make you feel less lost and more connected.
Yes, and that's exactly where the adventure really begins. You're in this massive space, and suddenly it's not just about reaching your gate, it's about noticing everything along the way. The little shops, the duty-free perfume counters, the families dragging luggage together. But at the same time, there's that slight pressure, right? making sure you're not wandering too much and actually heading in the right direction. I remember once I got so distracted looking at a bookstore that I almost walked past my gate entirely. So it's this balance, exploring while also keeping your eyes sharp for those glowing numbers that tell you exactly where to go.
And then there's that moment you hesitate, isn't there? You stop for just a second, wondering, wait, am I heading to gate A22 or B22? That tiny pause where your stomach drops because suddenly the letters and numbers blur together, and you have a choice. Do you figure it out on your own, or do you ask someone? And honestly, there's such a relief in just asking an airport staff member or even another traveler. That one clear answer makes you feel like, okay, I'm back on track. And that little boost of confidence carries you forward with a lighter step.
Oh, absolutely. And it's humbling too, isn't it? Because no matter how confident you are, airports have this way of making you realize you will need help sometimes. But instead of it being a weakness, it actually feels reassuring, knowing you don't have to do it all alone. And when someone points you in the right direction, you're grateful in a very real way. Then suddenly the walk becomes exciting again. You notice new corners, new voices, maybe you even smell fresh food from a cafe nearby, and you think, I'm really on my way, step by step. It makes the journey feel alive.
And I think that's the magic of this stage. It's not just about reaching the gate, it's about what you learn about yourself along the way. You realize that even when you're unsure, you can keep moving forward, adjusting, asking, observing, and every little success, spotting the right sign, hearing your gate number in an announcement, it feels like a small victory. And by the time you finally see your gate in front of you, it's not just relief, it's pride. You managed it, you navigated this whole buzzing maze, and you're one step closer to the sky.
Yes, exactly. And that feeling of independence is so powerful. You walk up to your gate, sit down, and look around at all the travelers waiting, some reading, some napping, some quietly smiling to themselves. And you realize you belong here too. You've followed the signs, asked the questions, and trusted yourself. And now, instead of just surviving the airport, you're experiencing it like a world full of voices, movement, and little stories unfolding everywhere. And in that moment, you're not just traveling to a place, you're growing into a traveler.
You know that moment when you finally find your seat, tuck your bag away, and just sit down? There's this mix of relief and awkwardness. You nod at the person sitting next to you, maybe share a polite smile, and then suddenly you're hyper aware of every sound. The click of seat belts, the shuffle of people finding space for their luggage. And then, of course, the flight attendants come around with their warm greetings. And it feels strangely comforting. It's like, okay, you're in their care now, and that makes the nerves settle just a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And the hum of the aircraft starts to wrap around you, doesn't it? You listen carefully to the announcements, watching the safety instructions, and suddenly you're reminded you're about to lift off the ground. That thought can feel both thrilling and intimidating at the same time. But there's also something intimate about the space. You're surrounded by strangers, yet everyone is moving toward the same destination. For a few hours, you're sharing the same air, the same rhythm, almost like you're part of a quiet little community floating together in the sky.
And then there's that classic moment when you wonder, should I ask for water now or just wait? It's such a small thing, but it feels like a big decision at the moment. And when you finally do ask, the flight attendant smiles and it instantly feels less awkward than you imagined. It's these little human interactions that make the flight more real. You're not just sitting in a metal tube, you're sharing small conversations, polite exchanges, even tiny reassurances that, yes, you belong here, just like everyone else.
Oh, I know that feeling so well. And then once the plane starts moving, there's this hush that falls over everyone. People settle into their own worlds, some reading, some listening to music, others just closing their eyes. And you realize how rare it is to be in a space where so many people are together, yet so quiet. Even the smallest sound, like the ding of the seatbelt sign, feels like a shared moment everyone responds to. It's calming in a strange, collective way.
And I think what makes it powerful is that mix of nerves and calm happening at the same time. Part of you is alert, listening to every word of the announcements, watching the cabin crew, while another part of you just gives in to the rhythm of it all. The hum of the engines, the steady movement, the quiet presence of people around you. It's almost meditative. It's one of those rare moments in life where you can just sit still, surrounded by strangers, but still feel oddly at peace.
Yes, and that peace is what makes the journey so memorable. Because even though you're suspended thousands of feet above the ground, there is a stillness that comes from simply being present. You look out the window, see the clouds drifting by, and you realize this is part of the adventure too. Not just the destination, but this very moment, sitting here, listening, breathing, sharing space with others who are quietly dreaming of where they're going.
There's something about that first step off the plane. The air feels different, the signs look new, and yet your heart is racing a little faster. Because you know what comes next: immigration. You join the line, passport in hand, rehearsing in your head the simplest of answers to the most basic questions. And still, it feels like an exam. The hum of voices, the shuffle of feet, the quiet tension in the air, it's all building toward that one moment when your turn finally comes.
Yes, and it's such a strange mix, isn't it? Because logically, you know it's routine. Just a few questions, a stamp, and you're through. But emotionally, you're holding your breath. You step forward, hand over your passport, and every second feels stretched. The officer looks at you, looks at the passport, maybe asks why you're here, how long you'll stay. And even though it's all simple, there's this underlying weight in those few words. It's the threshold moment, the invisible door between being a traveler and becoming someone who has arrived.
And then just like that, it's done. You hear the sound of the stamp, your passport slides back to you, and this huge wave of relief comes over you. You walk away from the counter almost smiling to yourself because all that quiet stress is behind you now. And then comes customs. One last hurdle. You put your bag on the belt, watch it roll away, and there's always that tiny flicker of worry. What if they stop me? But most times it's just a nod and you're free to go. And that freedom feels so good.
Yes, because that moment when you step out of customs is unlike any other. It could be the first glimpse of a brand new city, or the sight of familiar faces waiting for you, or even just the cool air of a new place brushing against your skin. And it's more than relief, it's a possibility. Logically, you know it's routine, just a few questions, a stamp, and you're through. But emotionally, you're holding your breath. You step forward, hand over your passport, and every second feels stretched. The officer looks at you, looks at the passport, maybe asks why you're here, how long you'll stay. And even though it's all simple, there's this underlying weight in those few words. It's the threshold moment, the invisible door between being a traveler and becoming someone who has arrived.
And then, just like that, it's done. You hear the sound of the stamp, your passport slides back to you, and this huge wave of relief comes over you. You walk away from the counter almost smiling to yourself because all that quiet stress is behind you now. And then comes customs. One last hurdle. You put your bag on the belt, watch it roll away, and there's always that tiny flicker of worry. What if they stop me? But most times it's just a nod and you're free to go. And that freedom feels so good.
Yes, because that moment when you step out of customs is unlike any other. It could be the first glimpse of a brand new city, or the sight of familiar faces waiting for you, or even just the cool air of a new place brushing against your skin. And it's more than relief, it's a possibility. Everything you've been imagining, everything you've been waiting for, it's suddenly real. The tension dissolves, and what's left is this wide open sense of wonder.
And it strikes you how quickly the shift happens. One moment you're standing in line, heart pounding, and the next you're wheeling your bag through the doors, ready to explore. That's the magic of arrival. The journey of waiting, worrying, preparing, it all collapses into this single instant of freedom. And with every step forward, you realize the airport was never the final stop. It was just the bridge to something bigger, something waiting just beyond those doors.
And that's the beauty of it. Because whether you're stepping into a place you've dreamed of for years or simply coming home, that walk out of the airport is a beginning. The world feels new, possibilities stretch wide, and suddenly you're no longer a traveler. You're part of the place you've entered. And with that, the journey has only just begun.
Before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you, truly, for spending this time with us today. We know your time is valuable, and the fact that you chose to share it here means a lot. Our hope is that these moments don't just pass by, but actually give you something useful, something you can carry with you. Because every journey, every step is about making your time matter.
Yes, thank you so much for being here with us today. We hope you felt like you were walking through the journey right alongside us and that it made your own time feel meaningful. Remember, it's not just about where you go, but how you choose to spend these moments. So make them count, make them valuable, and keep moving forward with curiosity. Until next